You are about to learn clear steps for stopping automatic reactions and choosing calm, steady responses instead. This book shows how to notice the first flicker of emotion, feel what is happening in your body, and then choose a better course of action. You will get simple exercises you can use right away, a few daily habits that change how you feel, and practical rules for handling people and pressure without losing control. Picture a moment when your chest tightens, your voice goes higher, and your thoughts spin fast. That exact moment is where change becomes possible. The techniques in this audiobook teach you how to recognize signals in your body, slow your breathing, and make a different choice before words or actions create outcomes you will regret. You will learn how to build routines that lower the chance of an outburst, and how to train attention so urges do not decide for you. Each chapter gives one focused skill and tools you can practice tonight. You will learn to notice triggers, map the situations that tempt you to react, and create short pauses that become natural. You will practice specific breathing patterns, simple journaling, prompts, short visualization drills, and a 3-step review you can do at the end of each day. These steps are designed to fit into a busy life and to give steady results when applied regularly. This audiobook blends practical drills with clear reasoning, so you can use what works and leave what does not. Real people use these methods to calm arguments, stop impulsive spending, improve workplace decisions, and sleep better at night. The changes come from small, repeatable actions, not from sudden motivation. If you try one technique every day, you will see measurable shifts in how you respond to stress. Stay for short, real examples that show how to apply the tools in real conversations and difficult moments. Stay for guided practices that you can follow as you listen. Stay for the closing plan that ties all 10 skills into a daily routine you can keep for life. By the end, you will have a clear sequence to follow. When pressure rises, a set of habits to protect your energy, and a simple way to measure progress. This work asks for steady effort and honest attention. It does not promise quick fixes, but it does promise that your choices will change when you practice. You can begin right now by taking one slow, full breath, noticing how your body responds, and deciding what you will do next. That single decision, repeated each day, leads to real control over impulses, stronger relationships, and more consistent progress toward your goals. Chapter 1. Build strong awareness to prevent fast emotional reactions. Building strong awareness is the first step in preventing fast emotional reactions, because nothing in life changes until a person understands what is happening inside them. Many people move through their day on autopilot and respond instantly to anything that irritates them, surprises them, or challenges them. They speak before they think. They move before they pause. They react before they understand. This pattern grows stronger over the years until it becomes a default way of living. The purpose of this chapter is to break that pattern and replace it with deliberate awareness, so the mind becomes steady and the choices become conscious. Awareness is not something a person turns on when they remember it. It is something they train. It is something they build. It grows through daily effort, small observations, and honest reflection. When awareness becomes strong, emotional reactions slow down. The mind gains space between the feeling and the action. That space is control. That space is power. That space is self-leadership. Without that space, emotions take over and decisions happen too fast to be wise. With that space, life moves with more clarity and strength. Many people assume emotional reactions are something they will always have. They believe anger, frustration, impatience, and fear arise naturally and must be expressed quickly. They think these reactions show honesty or strength. In reality, fast emotional reactions show a lack of inner control. They show that a person has not learned to manage the first wave of sensation that moves through them. When a person learns to build awareness, emotion stops surprising them. They can feel the first signal before it becomes a reaction, and they can choose a response that aligns with their values and goals. Awareness begins with understanding how the mind works in moments of stress. The mind receives information, evaluates it, triggers physical sensations, and then chooses a response. When awareness is weak, this process happens too fast for a person to notice the steps. When awareness grows, The steps become clear. The person notices the shift in their breathing. They notice the tension in their chest. They notice the voice rising in their mind. They notice the urge to speak quickly or defend themselves. They notice the impulse before it turns into action. This early detection gives them power over their reaction. Building awareness requires a person to slow down enough to study themselves. Most people do not pay attention to their thoughts. They do not notice how often they judge, compare, fear, or exaggerate. They do not notice how often small things disturb them. They do not notice their triggers or patterns. They move from stimulus to response without understanding the inner process. The goal of this chapter is to show that awareness is not only possible but deeply life. Changing awareness begins the moment a person admits that fast reactions are costing them energy and peace. It begins when they recognize how quickly irritation rises, how quickly anger takes over, how quickly disappointment turns into negative thoughts, and how quickly fear creates tension. A person cannot change what they refuse to notice. Once they choose to observe themselves honestly, they start to notice how emotional reactions control their day. Strong awareness grows through consistent practice. One helpful approach is to check in with the body during moments of tension. Before a reaction begins, the body gives signals. It may tighten the stomach, it may warm the face, it may raise the heart rate, it may shorten the breath, it may create pressure behind the eyes. These signals are warnings. They appear before the reaction fully forms. A person with strong awareness listens to these signals and responds with care, not speed. They pause. They breathe. They allow the emotion to rise without letting it take control. They choose to act with intention instead of impulse. Another aspect of awareness is observing thoughts without believing them instantly. The mind produces automatic thoughts based on past experiences and fears. A person with low awareness accepts these thoughts as truth and reacts to them immediately. A person with strong awareness questions them. They ask themselves whether the thought is based on facts or emotions. They ask whether the situation is as urgent as it feels. They ask whether reacting quickly is necessary or harmful. This kind of observation slows down the emotional process and gives the person time to choose their next move. Awareness also involves noticing patterns. Many emotional reactions repeat in similar situations. A person may react quickly when they feel disrespected. They may react quickly when they feel rushed. They may react quickly when something does not go as planned. They may react quickly when they feel misunderstood or ignored. These patterns often originate from childhood, past failures, old beliefs, or personal insecurities. When a person studies these patterns, they gain insight into why they react the way they do. This insight weakens the power of the reaction because it brings understanding. Understanding leads to control. To build strong awareness, a person must be willing to confront the truth about themselves. They must acknowledge the moments when they lose control. They must accept their weaknesses without judgment. They must study their behavior with honesty. Awareness is not about blame, it is about clarity. Clarity brings growth. Growth brings change. One powerful practice is to take mental notes during stressful situations. This practice helps the person learn how their mind behaves in real time. They observe what triggers the reaction, what thoughts appear, what sensations arise, and how strong the impulse feels. They do this without acting on the impulse. They learn to sit with discomfort without escaping into reaction. This training builds a deep sense of self-control and emotional stability. Awareness also requires slowing down daily life. When a person moves too fast, the mind becomes noisy and unfocused. They do not notice their feelings until they explode. They do not see the early signs of frustration. They do not hear the subtle voice in their mind that warns them to pause. Slowing down allows the mind to breathe. It gives awareness room to grow. The person begins to notice small details in their behavior. They notice their tendency to rush. They notice how impatience builds. They notice how easily they become irritated. They notice how quickly they form opinions. Slowing down reveals everything that fast living hides. Another important part of building strong awareness is learning to observe the moment before speaking. Many emotional reactions come from speech that is rushed, harsh, or unfiltered. When a person learns to pause before speaking, they gain tremendous power over their emotional life. They give themselves time to decide whether their words will help or harm. They choose clarity instead of anger. They choose understanding instead of defense. They choose wisdom instead of impulse. This pause strengthens relationships, improves communication, and builds emotional maturity. Awareness also grows through reflection at the end of the day. This reflection is not about blaming oneself for mistakes. It is about understanding. The person reviews the moments when they reacted quickly. They observe what led to the reaction. They examine the thoughts that pushed them to act fast. They reflect on how they could have responded differently. This nightly reflection trains the mind to prepare for better behavior in future situations. Over time, this simple practice increases emotional control and reduces impulsive reactions. Building strong awareness also involves paying attention to the environment. Certain environments make emotional reactions stronger. Loud spaces, rushed energy, toxic people, and chaotic surroundings can trigger fast responses. A person with strong awareness understands how their environment affects their emotions. They learn to adjust their mindset when entering stressful environments. They learn to protect their energy when dealing with difficult people. They learn to stay grounded even when others lose control. Awareness of the environment gives them the ability to remain steady in situations that once overwhelmed them. Many people do not realize how much their reactions are influenced by habits. The mind reacts based on repetition. If a person has spent years reacting quickly, their mind treats fast reactions as normal. Awareness breaks this automatic cycle. It replaces reaction with observation. It replaces impulse with clarity. It replaces speed with patience. With time, these new habits become stronger than the old ones. Another important part of awareness is learning to sit with discomfort. Emotional reactions often arise because a person feels uncomfortable and wants relief. They speak quickly, move quickly, or defend themselves quickly to escape the uncomfortable feeling. When a person learns to sit with discomfort without reacting, they become stronger. They realize discomfort cannot control them. They realize emotions rise and fall naturally. They realize they can endure difficult feelings without acting on them. This endurance builds emotional resilience and prevents fast reactions. Awareness also teaches a person to separate emotion from identity. Many people believe that feeling angry makes them an angry person, or feeling frustrated means they are losing control. Awareness shows that emotions are temporary. They do not define the person. They simply move through the mind and body. When a person understands this, they stop fearing their emotions. They stop reacting to them quickly. They allow the emotion to exist without letting it dictate their behavior. This simple shift brings a sense of freedom and inner strength. Another powerful principle of awareness is learning to observe other people without reacting to them. Emotional reactions often rise because of the behavior of others. Someone may speak with a harsh tone. Someone may act unfairly. Someone may interrupt. Someone may disrespect. Someone may misunderstand. When awareness is weak, the person reacts immediately. They take everything personally. They feel compelled to respond quickly. When awareness is strong, they study the situation with a calm mind. They understand that other people's behavior says more about them than about the person experiencing it. They choose a response based on wisdom rather than emotion. This ability protects their energy and keeps their mind steady. Awareness also includes understanding triggers. Triggers are specific situations that spark strong emotional reactions. They may be linked to past experiences or unresolved issues. A person with strong awareness identifies their triggers and prepares for them. They recognize when a trigger appears. They observe their emotional shift. They slow down their breathing. They give themselves time to settle. They choose a thoughtful response. This process transforms triggers from sources of chaos into opportunities for growth. One of the most powerful ways to build awareness is through intentional breathing. When emotions rise, breathing automatically changes. It becomes faster, shorter, and heavier. A person with strong awareness notices this shift immediately. They slow their breath. They deepen it. They use it to calm the body and quiet the mind. This simple action disrupts the emotional reaction and gives the person control. Breathing is one of the most effective tools for awareness because it connects the mind and body in real time. Awareness also grows through conscious decision making. Many people make decisions quickly because they feel pressured by emotion. When awareness becomes stronger, the person learns to make decisions with clarity. They evaluate the situation, they study their emotions, they consider the long-term impact. They choose wisely. This disciplined approach prevents emotional mistakes and builds confidence. Another important part of awareness is understanding personal limits. A person must know when they are mentally tired, emotionally drained, or overwhelmed. When awareness is strong, they recognize when their mind is not in a stable state. They choose rest over reaction. They choose silence over conflict. They choose patience over impulsive behavior. This understanding of limits protects their emotional health and prevents unnecessary reactions. Awareness also includes learning to detach from immediate urges. Urges are strong, sudden impulses that push a person to react quickly. A person with strong awareness studies the urge without obeying it. They watch it rise, they watch it peak, they watch it fade. They realize that urges lose power when they are observed. This simple understanding weakens the hold of emotional impulses and strengthens self-control. Another powerful practice is to mentally rehearse calm responses. This rehearsal is not imaginary, it is a form of preparation. The person imagines a typical stressful situation. They imagine their usual reaction. Then they imagine responding calmly. They imagine speaking thoughtfully. They imagine choosing a steady tone. They imagine controlling their breath. This mental practice strengthens awareness during real situations. When the moment arrives, the mind recognizes the scenario and responds with calmness instead of speed. Building strong awareness also requires humility. A person must be willing to admit they have room to grow. They must recognize that emotional reactions do not reflect strength, but rather a lack of control. Humility opens the door to improvement. It allows the person to observe themselves without defensiveness. It encourages them to study their emotions with curiosity instead of shame. Humility transforms mistakes into lessons and failures into opportunities for growth. Awareness also grows through time alone. Many people avoid being alone because silence reveals their inner world. They do not want to face their thoughts. They do not want to feel their emotions. They distract themselves with noise. Time alone removes these distractions. It allows the mind to settle. It reveals the patterns of thought and behavior that need attention. This self-examination strengthens awareness and helps the person build a calm inner foundation. Another important aspect of awareness is learning to focus on the present moment. Fast reactions often come from anxiety about the future or resentment about the past. When awareness is focused on the present, emotional reactions weaken. The person becomes grounded. They notice their breath. They notice their posture. They hear the sounds around them. They feel the air on their skin. This grounding pulls them out of emotional turbulence and helps them respond with calmness. Awareness also involves understanding that self-control grows slowly. No one becomes aware overnight. It requires practice, patience, and consistency. Each day offers opportunities to observe thoughts and reactions. Each day offers moments to pause. Each day offers chances to choose a better response. Progress may feel slow, but awareness grows with every attempt. Over time, the person becomes more stable, more focused, and more emotionally resilient. One of the most valuable outcomes of strong awareness is the ability to stay calm in situations that once felt overwhelming. The person no longer reacts quickly to stress. They no longer lose control when challenged. They no longer feel consumed by emotion. Instead, they remain centered. They remain grounded. They remain thoughtful. This calmness becomes their strength. It improves their relationships, enhances their decision-making, and increases their inner peace. Another important benefit of awareness is that it builds emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand emotions, manage them, and respond with clarity. Awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. Without awareness, emotions remain confusing and unpredictable. With awareness, emotions become clear signals rather than uncontrollable forces. This understanding empowers the person to navigate life with confidence and stability. Awareness also strengthens discipline. When a person becomes aware of their reactions, they start to control them. They stop acting out of impulse. They stop feeding negative habits. They stop repeating harmful patterns. This discipline spreads into other areas of life. It improves work habits, strengthens routines, and increases commitment to personal goals. Awareness becomes the core of a disciplined life. Strong awareness also improves relationships. Many conflicts happen because of fast emotional reactions. A harsh tone, a quick judgment, or a defensive response can damage trust. When awareness becomes strong, communication becomes calmer. The person listens more. They understand more. They respond with patience. They choose words that build connection rather than conflict. This awareness strengthens families, friendships, and partnerships. Awareness also protects mental health. Fast emotional reactions drain energy and create stress. They produce guilt, regret, and tension. They pull the mind into negative loops. When awareness grows, emotional stability increases, stress decreases. The mind becomes clearer. Peace becomes easier to maintain. This stability supports long-term mental well-being. At the deepest level, awareness helps a person lead themselves. Self-leadership is the ability to guide one's thoughts, emotions, and actions toward a meaningful life. Without awareness, self-leadership is impossible. With awareness, it becomes natural. The person begins to understand themselves deeply. They see what inspires them, what discourages them, what strengthens them, and what weakens them. They stop living on autopilot. They start making conscious choices. They start building a life based on intention rather than reaction. Building strong awareness is a lifelong practice. It requires daily effort. It requires honest reflection. It requires patience. But every moment spent strengthening awareness brings a person closer to self-control, inner peace, and emotional strength. A person who builds awareness becomes someone who no longer gets carried away by sudden emotions. They become someone who chooses their responses wisely. They become someone who leads themselves with clarity and confidence. Awareness opens the door to a new version of life. A life where reactions no longer control the day. A life where emotions no longer dictate behavior. A life where the mind becomes a steady guide rather than a chaotic force. A life where self-leadership becomes the foundation of every choice. Awareness is not just the first step, it is the essential step. It is the beginning of mastery. It is the beginning of real personal freedom. When awareness becomes strong, success follows naturally because the person becomes someone who moves through life with intention, wisdom, and unshakable inner control. Chapter 2. Strengthen your focus to control urges with clarity. Strengthening focus is the cornerstone of controlling urges and responding with clarity, because the mind naturally drifts when left untrained, allowing impulses to take control. Many people live their days reacting to every distraction, moving from one thought to another without direction, and giving their power away to whatever captures attention in the moment. Focus is the skill that prevents this, the internal force that keeps the mind steady, and the discipline that allows a person to choose actions intentionally rather than being pushed by sudden desires. Without focus, clarity cannot exist, and without clarity, every urge becomes a storm that demands immediate action. The goal of this chapter is to guide the reader toward developing focus as a practical daily habit that transforms impulses into conscious decisions. Focus begins with understanding how easily the mind can scatter. External distractions, internal chatter, and emotional turbulence all compete for attention. A small irritation, a fleeting thought, or a random notification can pull the mind away from what is important, and if not noticed, the reaction to these distractions can take over instantly. Strengthening focus is about learning to anchor attention in the present moment, maintaining awareness of priority, and training the mind to return immediately when it wanders. It is the difference between being led by circumstance and leading oneself through circumstance. 2. Strengthen focus. One must first recognize where the mind loses control. Observing the moments when attention drifts reveals patterns of susceptibility. The urge to check a phone when anxious, the sudden craving for comfort when stressed, the impulse to react when feeling slighted. These are all signals that focus is weak. Awareness of these tendencies is the first step because it allows the mind to intervene before automatic impulses take over. Once recognized, the mind can implement strategies to maintain control. Developing focus requires creating structure. Daily routines, clear priorities, and defined goals provide the mind with a framework to operate within. When the mind knows where attention belongs, it wastes less energy on distractions and gives fewer opportunities for urges to dominate. Start by identifying the most important tasks or areas of life that require clear-headed action. Allocate dedicated time to these priorities and protect this time as non-negotiable. When attention is given intentionally, urges lose their power because the mind is anchored to what truly matters. Another practical approach is to train the mind to resist immediate gratification. Urges are often rooted in the desire for quick satisfaction, whether it is food, entertainment, emotional reaction, or escape from discomfort. Strengthening focus involves noticing the urge, recognizing its temporary nature, and delaying action until a thoughtful choice can be made. The delay itself is a tool of power. Every moment spent resisting an impulse increases mental control. Each pause reinforces the brain's ability to prioritize clarity over distraction. Over time, this builds a mind that responds deliberately rather than reacting instinctively. Concentration exercises are powerful tools in this process. Simple daily practices, such as focusing on one task for a set period without interruption, meditating on a single point of attention, or observing breathing, develop the ability to hold the mind steady. Even brief periods of concentrated practice strengthen the neural pathways that support control over impulses. When focus is exercised regularly, the mind becomes less susceptible to distraction and more capable of handling urges without losing composure. Environmental awareness also plays a critical role in maintaining focus. Surroundings that are chaotic, overstimulating, or emotionally charged can easily hijack attention and provoke impulsive reactions. A person who strengthens focus adjusts their environment to support mental clarity. This may involve reducing noise, limiting unnecessary digital inputs, or creating physical spaces that encourage calm and concentration. By controlling the external landscape, the mind has fewer opportunities to scatter and more energy to devote to intentional action. Physical health directly impacts focus, fatigue, hunger, and poor health reduce the mind's ability to resist impulses and maintain clarity. Strengthening focus requires attention to sleep, nutrition, exercise, and hydration. The mind operates as effectively as the body allows, and when the body is stable and energized, urges become easier to manage. Regular physical care is not an optional support. It is a foundational part of mental discipline. Emotional regulation enhances focus as well. Strong emotions can hijack attention and intensify impulses. Practicing calm reflection, acknowledging emotions without judgment, and using techniques like measured breathing or short pauses when feelings rise, allow the mind to maintain clarity. Focus is not about suppressing emotion, but about keeping attention anchored in what is important while emotions pass through without dictating action. The clearer the mind in emotional moments, the more control exists over how urges are addressed. Strengthening focus also involves creating mental clarity around values and priorities. When the mind understands what is meaningful, it is easier to resist urges that conflict with long-term goals. Each decision can be evaluated against these priorities, and impulses that do not serve purpose are less compelling. Writing down values, reflecting on them daily, and using them as a decision-making framework strengthens the alignment between focus and action. This alignment transforms scattered energy into deliberate power. Practical application requires vigilance in daily life. The mind must be exercised with intention in ordinary moments. Avoid multitasking, which divides attention and weakens focus. Schedule time for reflection where urges can be observed and evaluated. Practice brief pauses before acting in response to an impulse, using the moment to choose clarity over speed. Each of these small interventions builds the skill of sustained attention and creates a mental environment resistant to distraction. Technology and constant connectivity are common challenges to focus. Notifications, messages, and endless content fragment attention and provoke reactive behavior. Strengthening focus requires intentional boundaries, setting specific times to check digital inputs, silencing unnecessary alerts, and prioritizing face-to-face or task-based engagement over passive scrolling all create space for mental control. The goal is not isolation but discipline, ensuring that attention flows where it is consciously directed rather than scattered by external triggers. Focus is also reinforced through accountability and reflection. Daily or weekly reviews of how attention was managed reveal patterns of success and areas needing improvement. Reflect on moments when urges dominated and analyze why attention shifted. Consider what strategies worked to regain focus and what can be improved. Reflection reinforces learning, strengthens mental awareness, and enhances the ability to maintain clarity in future moments. Visualization is another tool that reinforces focus and clarity. Mentally rehearsing a situation that triggers strong urges and imagining responding with control prepares the mind for real-life application. Visualization strengthens neural pathways, creating familiarity and readiness. By seeing oneself respond with intentionality, the mind recognizes these choices as achievable, rather than aspirational. This preparation bridges the gap between intention and action. Strong focus transforms daily life because it directly impacts decision. Making urges often lead to choices that create long-term consequences the moment they are acted upon. When focus is cultivated, decisions are not made impulsively. The mind evaluates options, considers outcomes, and aligns actions with priorities. Control over urges results in more deliberate choices, fewer regrets, and a life that reflects personal values and goals rather than reactionary patterns. Another benefit of strengthening focus is mental resilience. The mind becomes capable of handling multiple pressures without losing clarity. Distractions, competing desires, and emotional turbulence are managed rather than reacted to. The mind holds steady, and the individual experiences increased confidence, reduced stress, and a deeper sense of agency over their life. This resilience is a direct product of the discipline built through intentional focus. Strengthening focus also improves learning and skill acquisition. A concentrated mind absorbs information more effectively, retains it longer, and applies it more accurately. This applies to emotional control, professional growth, and personal development. The ability to maintain attention on one task, to follow through without succumbing to distraction, and to resist impulsive shortcuts enhances mastery in all areas of life. Urges lose their urgency when the mind is fully engaged in meaningful work. In addition, focus encourages consistency in daily routines. Consistent action is the foundation of progress, and focused attention ensures that actions are completed fully and intentionally. Habits are strengthened when attention is given deliberately, and the mind reinforces patterns that support long-term goals. Each completed task, each deliberate action strengthens mental endurance and reduces the power of fleeting urges that seek immediate satisfaction. To strengthen focus in practical terms, one can start with small, repeatable exercises. Begin by dedicating 5 to 10 minutes each day to focused attention on a single task, gradually extending the time as control increases. Eliminate distractions during this period. Notice every urge to drift, and gently return the mind to the task. Track progress and celebrate the ability to sustain attention for longer periods. Small successes compound into significant growth in focus and clarity. Another practical method is journaling moments of impulsive urges. Record what triggered the urge, how it felt, how the mind responded, and how it could have been handled differently. This conscious observation strengthens awareness and trains the mind to see patterns before they escalate into action. Writing transforms scattered impulses into structured understanding, providing a blueprint for future control. Strengthening focus also means prioritizing what truly matters. Urges often exploit gaps in purpose or direction. When the mind is engaged in meaningful activities, impulses lose urgency. Identify goals that matter deeply, create daily action plans, and allocate attention to tasks that align with these objectives. When focus is tied to purpose, the mind resists distraction, and clarity guides action naturally. Finally, focus cultivates patience. The more control one has over attention, the more one can wait before responding. Urges often demand immediate action, but clarity requires stillness. Patience allows the mind to assess, evaluate, and choose the best course. Each moment of patience strengthens discipline, reinforces clarity, and reduces regret. Strong focus is therefore inseparable from the ability to act with measured intention rather than react impulsively. Strengthening focus is not a one-time effort. It is a daily practice of observing the mind, redirecting attention, resisting distraction, and maintaining alignment with priorities. Each moment of intentional focus builds skill. Each pause against an urge strengthens control, and each choice made with clarity reinforces the habit of deliberate action. Over time, the mind becomes a precise instrument, capable of resisting impulses, responding with wisdom, and achieving goals consistently. Strengthening focus is the bridge between intention and action, between awareness and mastery, and between uncontrolled reaction and a life lived with purpose. When focus becomes strong, urges lose power, clarity replaces distraction, decisions become deliberate, energy becomes directed, life moves forward with intentional momentum. Control over the mind translates to control over behavior, relationships, and long-term outcomes. Strengthening focus is therefore not only a mental skill, but a foundational practice that transforms the way a person lives, works, and achieves. Every action becomes purposeful, every decision thoughtful, and every moment an opportunity to exercise discipline. The practice of focus turns potential chaos into clarity, impulsive tendencies into steady action, and scattered energy into directed power. A person who strengthens focus creates a life where urges are observed, not obeyed, where attention is directed, not fragmented, and where actions are chosen with precision. The ability to control the mind translates to mastery over self, resilience in challenge, and success in every area of life. Focus is the tool that makes clarity possible, and clarity is the force that transforms desire into achievement. Developing this skill requires commitment, discipline, and daily effort, but the rewards are profound. Every day becomes an opportunity to act intentionally, to resist distraction, and to turn impulses into deliberate action. Through this practice, the mind becomes steady, the emotions balanced, and the life intentional, creating a foundation upon which lasting success is built. Chapter 3. Train your mind to pause before every action. Training the mind to pause before every action is one of the most powerful practices for gaining control over life, because it allows thought to precede behavior and intention to replace impulse. Every moment in which a person acts without pause is an opportunity for regret, a chance for reaction to dominate, and a loss of clarity. Most people move through their day responding instantly, unaware of how each quick action compounds into consequences they did not consciously choose. The simple practice of pausing, even for a brief moment, transforms the nature of decision-making, creating space for reflection, reducing impulsivity, and allowing the mind to act in alignment with purpose. The pause is not passive, it is active. It is strength. It is the moment where control returns to the individual. The mind naturally moves fast. It reacts to situations based on past experiences, assumptions, or immediate desires. Without training, impulses appear urgent and unavoidable. They demand attention and push for instant response. The key to training the mind to pause is recognizing that these impulses are not commands. They are signals. They are invitations to act thoughtfully rather than automatically. The pause is the intervention point where the mind shifts from reaction to choice. It is the moment where wisdom can guide action instead of emotion. To begin, a person must develop awareness of the triggers that provoke fast responses. Triggers can be external, such as criticism, interruptions, or sudden changes in plans. They can also be internal, including stress, fatigue, or unresolved emotions. Each trigger carries an urge to act, whether it is to defend, escape, lash out, or seek comfort. Identifying these triggers is essential because it provides a roadmap of situations that require deliberate pause. Once triggers are known, the mind can prepare in advance, recognizing the approach of impulse before it reaches full intensity. Pausing begins with controlling the breath. When an impulse arises, the body often reacts before the mind has a chance to intervene. Breathing slows the physical response, signals the nervous system to calm, and creates a subtle gap between feeling and action. Even one deep breath can prevent a quick, unconsidered response. The act of noticing the breath also brings awareness into the present moment, grounding the mind and increasing the ability to respond rather than react. This connection between body and mind is essential for training consistent pause. Mental rehearsal strengthens the pause further. A person can imagine common scenarios in which impulses typically take control. They can visualize themselves feeling the urge but stopping before acting, breathing deeply, and considering their next move. This rehearsal prepares the brain for real situations, making the pause automatic when it matters most. Repeated visualization forms a habit of delayed action, training the mind to default to intentional response rather than instant reaction. Another practical strategy is to implement a brief counting technique before acting. Counting 3 to 5 seconds before responding to a stimulus allows the mind to step in between emotion and behavior. This small interval may seem insignificant, but it is enough to shift control from reactive impulses to conscious decision-making. The brain recognizes the pause, processes information more fully, and chooses the most appropriate response. Over time, these small pauses accumulate, creating a stable habit of deliberate action. Training the mind to pause also involves strengthening observation skills. The individual must notice their internal state at the moment of impulse. What sensations appear in the body? What thoughts arise in the mind? What emotions press for immediate action? By observing these signs without judgment, the person creates a moment of clarity. Impulses are no longer automatic. They are signals to be acknowledged, understood, and managed. Observation transforms the pause from an abstract concept into a practical tool for control. Discipline reinforces this practice. Pausing requires repetition and conscious commitment. Every moment in which a person chooses to pause strengthens the neural pathways that support self-control. Each pause becomes a small act of mastery, reinforcing the ability to act intentionally. This discipline grows stronger when paired with reflection. At the end of the day, reviewing moments when impulses were resisted or acted upon provides insight into progress, reveals patterns, and identifies areas for improvement. Reflection magnifies the effect of the pause by turning experience into understanding. Physical cues can aid in remembering to pause. Subtle gestures, such as pressing fingertips together, placing a hand on the chest, or taking a deliberate step back, serve as reminders to interrupt automatic reaction. These cues reinforce the connection between intention and action, helping the mind recognize the need for a pause before responding. Over time, these physical markers fade as the habit of pausing becomes ingrained and automatic. Pausing before action also improves relationships. Many conflicts occur because responses happen too quickly, often driven by anger, defensiveness, or frustration. When a person pauses, they have the opportunity to assess the situation, consider the other person's perspective, and choose words or actions that resolve rather than escalate tension. Communication becomes intentional, conflicts decrease, and trust strengthens. The pause transforms interactions from reactive exchanges to conscious engagement. Decision-making in high-pressure situations benefits profoundly from this practice. Urgent choices often feel overwhelming because emotion clouds judgment and drives hasty action. By training the mind to pause, the individual creates a gap for assessment. During this gap, they can evaluate options, anticipate consequences, and align their choice with long-term goals. The pause is not hesitation. It is strategic intervention that allows clarity to replace impulsive behavior. Training the mind to pause requires patience with oneself. Initially, impulses may still dominate, and old habits may resist change. Success lies not in perfection, but in persistent effort. Every attempt to pause, even if imperfect, strengthens the capacity for control. Small victories accumulate over time, and repeated effort rewires the mind to favor intention over reaction. Patience nurtures resilience, making the practice sustainable and deeply transformative. Mindfulness exercises complement the pause effectively, spending time observing the present moment, noticing thoughts without judgment, and remaining aware of sensations cultivates a mindset prepared for intentional action. Mindfulness trains the brain to accept impulses without immediately responding, creating a calm center from which deliberate choices emerge. This calm center becomes the foundation for consistent pause in all aspects of life. Training the mind to pause also involves cultivating a sense of personal responsibility. Every action has consequences, and acknowledging this reinforces the importance of deliberate choice. Recognizing the power to control one's own responses shifts the perspective from victimhood to empowerment. The pause becomes an expression of self-leadership, where the individual takes ownership of behavior rather than surrendering to uncontrollable impulses. Journaling reinforces the habit by creating a record of moments when the pause was applied or neglected. Writing about what triggered the impulse, how the mind responded, and what could have been done differently turns experience into structured learning. This process strengthens self-awareness, clarifies patterns, and enhances the effectiveness of future pauses. Over time, the journal becomes a tool for mastery, tracking growth and highlighting progress in self-discipline. Pausing before action also encourages strategic thinking. Immediate reactions often overlook long-term impact, but a deliberate pause allows evaluation of outcomes. The mind considers whether responding in the moment serves personal goals or undermines them. This strategic approach transforms impulsive behavior into thoughtful action, aligning daily choices with broader objectives. The practice of pausing strengthens both mental clarity and life strategy simultaneously. Strengthening this habit requires reinforcing mental cues, setting reminders, establishing routines, and consciously preparing for situations that typically provoke reaction ensures the pause is applied consistently. Anticipation of known triggers reduces the chance of being swept away by emotion. Preparation, combined with consistent practice, converts the pause from an intentional effort into an automatic habit that operates under pressure. Training the mind to pause before action also enhances emotional regulation. Immediate impulses often intensify negative emotions, amplifying anger, anxiety, or frustration. The pause allows these emotions to be acknowledged without dictating behavior. The mind recognizes transient feelings and separates them from the actions it chooses to take. Emotional clarity emerges, and impulses are weakened, making measured responses easier to execute. Small daily practices strengthen the habit of pausing before answering a question, responding to a request, or speaking in a conversation. Consciously delay action by even a few seconds. Observe the mind, assess priorities, and then respond. Repeat this consistently across situations. Each pause reinforces neural pathways associated with self-control, eventually making delayed action the default mode. The pause is also a safeguard against regret. Many actions taken in haste lead to consequences that create stress or disappointment. Pausing interrupts the automatic trajectory from impulse to action, providing a moment to consider potential outcomes. This reflection reduces mistakes, preserves energy, and fosters a sense of mastery over life choices. The mind becomes a decision maker rather than a reactor. Training the mind to pause before every action transforms daily living. Small intentional interruptions to automatic behavior accumulate into lasting change. Impulses lose their power, emotional stability strengthens, and decision-making improves. The practice encourages patience, sharpens clarity, and builds resilience over time. It creates a life in which choices are intentional, actions are thoughtful, and the mind governs behavior rather than being governed by immediate urges. Through consistent effort, the pause becomes a habit that defines character. It develops discipline, reinforces self-leadership, and empowers the individual to act with precision. Every delayed action strengthens control over impulses and reinforces alignment with personal values. The pause is a practical tool that transforms reaction into intention, stress into clarity, and impulsivity into conscious mastery. It is the bridge between awareness and action, between desire and achievement, and between instinct and wisdom. When the mind is trained to pause, life changes fundamentally. Actions are no longer dictated by fleeting urges. Decisions are considered, communication is clearer, and consequences are anticipated. The individual gains control over impulses, protects their energy, and responds to challenges with clarity and confidence. The pause becomes a defining habit that shapes every interaction, every choice, and every step forward, laying the foundation for self-mastery, personal growth, and lasting success. Chapter 4. Practice calm routines to weaken sudden emotional impulses. Practicing calm routines is essential for weakening sudden emotional impulses because the mind responds to consistency and predictability with stability and clarity. Emotional impulses often arise when the mind is unbalanced, tired, or overstimulated. When daily life is chaotic or rushed, reactions become automatic, leaving the individual vulnerable to anger, frustration, anxiety, and impatience. Calm routines provide structure and predictability, helping the nervous system regulate itself, reducing the intensity of emotional spikes, and allowing the mind to respond rather than react. These routines are not restrictive. They are intentional practices that create a foundation of control over one's responses and a steady state of mental equilibrium. To begin, one must recognize the power of small habits. Calm routines do not need to be elaborate or time-consuming. Even brief morning practices such as controlled breathing, mindful stretching, or a quiet moment of reflection set the tone for the entire day. The body and mind are interconnected, and starting the day with calm signals the nervous system to remain regulated. Over time, this consistency trains the mind to resist reacting impulsively to sudden emotional triggers, creating an internal environment where clarity becomes the default. Consistency is key. Repetition of these calm routines strengthens the neural pathways associated with emotional control. Each day, when the same calming practices are executed, the mind begins to expect and rely on these moments of steadiness. This predictability forms a buffer against sudden impulses. Even when stressful events occur, the mind has a reference point for calm and can return to equilibrium quickly, rather than being carried away by immediate reactions. Mindful breathing is one of the most practical tools in calm routines. When an emotional impulse arises, the breath often becomes shallow or erratic. Conscious breathing, focusing on slow inhalation and controlled exhalation, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which reduces stress and increases the ability to respond thoughtfully. This simple practice, when embedded in a daily routine, allows the individual to maintain composure in moments that would otherwise provoke impulsive behavior. Over time, the breath becomes an automatic anchor that brings focus and calm to high-pressure situations. Physical movement integrated into calm routines also enhances emotional resilience. Gentle exercise, yoga, or even stretching provides an outlet for excess energy that fuels emotional impulses. Movement helps regulate hormones, reduces tension, and allows the body to process stress more effectively. When done consistently, these practices create a baseline of physical and emotional balance, making sudden emotional surges easier to manage. The mind and body work together to reinforce calm, reducing the frequency and intensity of impulsive reactions. Visualization and mental rehearsal are additional components of calm routines. Mentally walking through potential stressful scenarios, while imagining oneself responding with measured composure, prepares the mind for real-life situations. This rehearsal strengthens confidence and reduces the likelihood of being swept away by sudden impulses. The mind becomes familiar with calm responses, and these imagined practices translate into automatic control when faced with emotional triggers. Structured daily reflection contributes to the effectiveness of calm routines. Spending a few minutes each evening reviewing the day, acknowledging emotional reactions, and considering how impulses could have been handled differently develops self-awareness. Reflection transforms experiences into lessons, reinforces control over future reactions, and strengthens the habit of approaching life with calm intentionality. This practice is not about judgment, it is about learning and creating a consistent standard for emotional regulation. Environment plays a significant role in supporting calm routines. Surroundings that are orderly, clean, and organized reduce sensory overload and provide a mental signal that calm is expected and maintained. Removing unnecessary clutter, limiting exposure to chaos, and creating spaces dedicated to reflection or quiet activity support the nervous system and reinforce the mind's ability to remain steady in the face of challenges. Physical calmness facilitates mental calmness, making it easier to resist impulsive reactions. Timing and pacing are also critical elements. Sudden emotional impulses are often amplified by rushed schedules, excessive multitasking, and constant pressure. Calm routines incorporate deliberate pacing, allowing time for transitions, breaks, and thoughtful responses. Scheduling intentional pauses during the day to check in with emotions, breathe, and reset attention strengthens the mind's ability to manage impulses. A structured rhythm of activity and rest prevents the accumulation of tension that triggers sudden reactions. Nutrition and hydration impact emotional stability as well. Consuming balanced meals and maintaining adequate hydration help regulate blood sugar and energy levels, which influence mood and impulse control. Calm routines include mindful eating, choosing foods that support mental clarity, and creating regular eating patterns. A body supported by proper nutrition is less likely to react impulsively to minor stresses, and the mind can maintain focus and composure more easily. Sleep is another essential pillar of calm routines. Fatigue heightens emotional reactivity, making impulses harder to resist. Establishing consistent sleep patterns, creating a calming bedtime routine, and prioritizing restorative rest allow the mind to process experiences and emotions effectively. When sleep is sufficient and structured, the baseline emotional state is calmer, and sudden impulses are less likely to dominate behavior. The mind operates from a position of strength rather than depletion. Incorporating intentional moments of stillness throughout the day reinforces calm routines. Even brief periods of silence, meditation, or quiet observation allow the nervous system to reset and the mind to regain perspective. These moments strengthen the ability to pause before reacting, reduce stress, and increase the clarity needed to manage impulses. The habit of regularly returning to calm enhances resilience and develops a steady inner state that persists under pressure. Routine journaling enhances the practice of calm by creating space for expression and evaluation. Writing about emotional experiences, impulses encountered, and responses taken provides insight into patterns and triggers. This reflective practice strengthens self-awareness, reinforces the impact of calm routines, and enables strategic adjustments to behavior. Over time, the journal becomes a record of growth, demonstrating the cumulative effect of consistent calm practices in reducing impulsive reactions. Calm routines also benefit communication. Individuals who maintain composure are better able to listen actively, respond thoughtfully, and manage interpersonal tensions. Emotional impulses often escalate conflict, but consistent calm practice allows for measured responses, improving relationships and reducing misunderstandings. The ripple effect of calm behavior extends beyond the individual, creating stability and harmony in social interactions. Consistency in practicing calm routines generates confidence. The individual learns that emotional impulses can be managed and that clarity can be maintained under stress. Confidence reinforces the habit, creating a feedback loop where calm becomes self-sustaining. Each successful application strengthens belief in the ability to respond intentionally rather than reactively, which further reduces the power of sudden emotional surges. Daily planning can integrate calm routines strategically. Starting the day with clear intentions, allocating time for reflection, and scheduling moments of rest provides a framework that minimizes reactive responses. When life is approached with deliberate structure, the mind has fewer opportunities for impulsive behavior. Planning is not rigidity. It is a tool to create consistency, predictability, and readiness to face emotional challenges without surrendering to them. Practicing gratitude within calm routines reinforces emotional stability. Focusing on positive aspects of life, acknowledging progress, and appreciating daily experiences reduces the emotional intensity of negative impulses. Gratitude shifts attention from reactive frustration to mindful awareness, creating a foundation of calm that supports thoughtful decision-making. Regular engagement with gratitude transforms the mind's baseline state into one that is less reactive and more intentional. Calm routines also include setting boundaries, limiting exposure to situations, people, or content that provoke frequent emotional surges reduces unnecessary triggers. Boundaries do not isolate, they preserve energy and maintain focus on meaningful priorities. The combination of calm routines and intentional boundaries strengthens resilience, allowing the mind to respond selectively and avoid unnecessary reactive behavior. Visualization of the desired state reinforces the impact of calm routines. Mentally imagining oneself handling a stressful interaction with composure or completing a challenging task without impulsive response prepares the mind for success. Visualization acts as mental rehearsal, training the brain to default to calm behavior under pressure. Over time, the imagined control becomes real, and impulses lose their dominance over action. The cumulative effect of calm routines is profound. Emotional impulses weaken because the nervous system and mind are conditioned to respond from a state of stability. Repetition of intentional practices builds automatic resilience, making calm the default response. The individual gains control over reactions, improves decision-making, enhances relationships, and experiences a deeper sense of personal strength and self-leadership. Through consistent application, calm routines become embedded in daily life. The mind recognizes familiar patterns, the body anticipates steady rhythms, and impulses are met with awareness rather than automatic action. Life transitions from reactive chaos to intentional order, from emotional turbulence to deliberate clarity. The practice of calm routines strengthens the foundation for all aspects of self-control, creating the conditions for mastery over sudden emotional impulses and providing the clarity needed to navigate challenges with poise and confidence. Chapter 5. Develop steady patience to stay balanced under pressure. Developing steady patience is essential for maintaining balance under pressure because the ability to remain calm and measured directly impacts every choice, action, and outcome in life. Pressure is inevitable. Challenges, unexpected events, demanding responsibilities, and difficult people all test the mind's capacity to respond effectively. Without patience, The mind reacts impulsively, emotions escalate, and decisions are made hastily, often creating more problems than solutions. Patience is not simply waiting passively. It is an active practice of maintaining composure, observing circumstances clearly, and responding with intentionality. It is the skill that allows a person to remain grounded when chaos surrounds them and to navigate complexity without being overwhelmed. Patience begins with understanding the nature of pressure. Pressure triggers the fight, flight, or freeze response in the body, releasing stress hormones that heighten emotional reactions and narrow focus. When these reactions dominate, clarity diminishes and impulses grow stronger. Developing steady patience involves learning to recognize these physiological and psychological responses, creating awareness before they dictate behavior. Awareness is the first step because it allows the individual to step outside the immediate reaction and observe the situation objectively. Building patience requires practice in small, everyday moments. Minor delays, unexpected interruptions, or inconveniences provide opportunities to strengthen tolerance. Choosing to respond calmly when someone is late, when a line is long, or when a plan changes unexpectedly cultivates the habit of measured responses. Each instance reinforces the mind's ability to remain steady, gradually expanding the capacity to handle larger pressures without losing composure. The small, consistent practice of patience creates a foundation for resilience in more demanding situations. Mindfulness is a key tool in developing patience. Paying attention to the present moment, noticing sensations, and acknowledging emotions without judgment allows the mind to pause before reacting. Awareness of breath, bodily tension, or racing thoughts creates space for thoughtful response. Mindfulness trains the mind to separate immediate emotional impulses from rational decision-making. The more the mind practices presence, the less likely it is to be hijacked by impatience when confronted with pressure. Breathing techniques reinforce steady patience. When pressure rises, the breath often becomes shallow and rapid, amplifying anxiety and reducing control. Slow, deliberate breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, calming the body and creating mental clarity. Practicing controlled breathing consistently, especially in stressful moments, allows the mind to respond rather than react. Over time, this practice strengthens natural resilience, making patience automatic even in challenging circumstances. Another critical element is perspective. Patience is easier to maintain when the mind understands the temporary nature of difficulties. Challenges and stressful situations are often brief relative to the broader flow of life. Keeping this perspective allows the mind to remain steady and reduces the urgency to react impulsively. Reflecting on past experiences where patience led to better outcomes reinforces this understanding, creating confidence that measured responses are more effective than hasty ones. Developing patience also involves slowing down decision-making under pressure. The mind often wants immediate answers. Pausing to gather information, consider alternatives, and assess consequences enhances the quality of decisions. Even brief moments of reflection can prevent mistakes and reduce regret. The act of slowing down reinforces the habit of patience and strengthens the ability to maintain balance when faced with high stakes or emotional tension. Routine and structure support steady patience. Establishing predictable daily patterns reduces uncertainty, which is a common trigger for impatience. When the mind knows what to expect and has allocated time for rest, reflection, and priority tasks, emotional stability is enhanced. Regular routines create a sense of control over life circumstances, which allows for calm responses when unanticipated pressures arise. The consistent rhythm of daily practice strengthens the foundation for long-term patience. Reflection is another essential practice. At the end of each day, reviewing moments of success or difficulty provides insight into how patience was applied or neglected. Analyzing reactions, considering what triggered impatience, and evaluating alternative responses reinforces learning. Reflection transforms experience into wisdom, enabling the mind to anticipate challenges and approach future pressure with calm readiness. Journaling these reflections further strengthens awareness and tracks progress over time. Visualization enhances the ability to remain patient under pressure. Mentally rehearsing high-stress scenarios while imagining calm, composed responses trains the mind for real-life situations. Visualization strengthens neural pathways associated with self-control, making the practice of patience more instinctive. Each imagined scenario reinforces the ability to maintain equilibrium when actual pressure occurs, ensuring that patience becomes a default response rather than a conscious struggle. Emotional regulation strengthens steady patience. Strong emotions, particularly frustration, anger, or fear, can overwhelm rational thinking and provoke impulsive reactions. Training the mind to acknowledge feelings without immediately acting on them creates distance between emotion and behavior. Techniques such as labeling emotions, pausing before speaking, or consciously shifting attention to productive thoughts reduce the intensity of emotional impulses and reinforce the capacity to respond with patience. Physical health and energy levels impact the ability to remain patient. Fatigue, poor nutrition, or lack of exercise increases irritability and reduces tolerance for stress. Maintaining adequate sleep, balanced meals, and regular physical activity ensures that the body supports the mind's capacity to endure pressure calmly. When the body is regulated, the mind has more resources to maintain composure and practice patience consistently. Developing patience also involves setting realistic expectations. Impatience often arises when outcomes are assumed to happen instantly or when circumstances are judged harshly. Accepting that progress, understanding, or resolution takes time allows the mind to remain steady. Adjusting expectations reduces frustration, enhances tolerance for delay, and reinforces the habit of responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Engaging in deliberate pauses throughout the day strengthens steady patience. Before responding to requests, answering questions, or reacting to minor inconveniences, taking a brief moment to breathe, assess, and center oneself reinforces self-control. These small, repeated pauses train the mind to default to patience even in more intense circumstances, building a consistent pattern of calm, balanced responses. Practicing gratitude supports emotional resilience and patience. Recognizing positive aspects of life, acknowledging small successes, and appreciating the present moment reduces the intensity of stress reactions. Gratitude shifts attention away from frustration and toward stability, making it easier to maintain composure when challenges arise. The practice of gratitude strengthens mental endurance and reinforces a mindset of calm persistence. Boundary setting enhances the ability to stay patient under pressure. Limiting exposure to unnecessary stressors, overwhelming tasks, or toxic interactions reduces opportunities for impatience. Protecting time, energy, and mental space allows the mind to operate from a foundation of balance. Boundaries are not avoidance, they are strategic tools that create optimal conditions for patience and measured responses. Developing steady patience improves interpersonal interactions. Conversations and relationships often become strained when one reacts too quickly to perceived slights, criticism, or frustration. Patience allows for listening, understanding, and responding thoughtfully. By maintaining composure, trust and respect are strengthened, and conflicts are resolved more effectively. The ability to stay balanced under pressure enhances personal and professional relationships while minimizing regret and tension. Small, intentional exercises reinforce patience. Deliberately waiting before acting on minor desires, taking time to complete tasks without rushing, or practicing delayed gratification strengthens tolerance for delay and reduces reactivity. These exercises condition the mind to withstand pressure calmly, reinforcing the long-term habit of steady composure even in stressful environments. Mindset is central to the development of patience. Viewing pressure as an opportunity to strengthen resilience rather than a threat encourages calm engagement. Challenges become practice fields where composure, clarity, and intentional response are honed. This mindset shifts the perception of difficulty from a source of frustration to a vehicle for growth, making patience not only a tool for survival but a catalyst for self-mastery. Consistency in practice transforms patience from effortful control to natural habit. Daily application in minor situations accumulates into an automatic response in major pressures. Each instance of calm under stress strengthens the brain's capacity to maintain balance, regulate emotion, and act with clarity. Over time, patience becomes integral to character, shaping every action, decision, and interaction in life. Steady patience enables strategic thinking under pressure. Impulsive reactions often compromise long-term goals, while patience allows for careful assessment and decision-making. By remaining calm, the mind can weigh consequences, evaluate options, and choose the course of action that aligns with values and objectives. This deliberate approach reduces mistakes, enhances effectiveness, and ensures that responses serve both immediate and long-term interests. Developing steady patience is not a temporary effort. It is a lifelong practice of observing responses, regulating emotions, delaying action, and consistently choosing composure over reaction. Each moment of patience reinforces resilience, strengthens clarity, and builds confidence. The individual becomes capable of navigating pressure with equanimity, making decisions that reflect wisdom rather than impulse, and creating a life characterized by intentionality and calm mastery. When steady patience is cultivated, life transforms. Emotional impulses no longer dominate decision-making. Challenges are met with clarity, pressure is handled with composure, and actions are aligned with purpose. The mind develops endurance, the body supports stability, and behavior reflects thoughtfulness rather than reactivity. Steady patience becomes a foundation for resilience, self-leadership, and lasting success, providing the capacity to stay balanced no matter what circumstances arise. Chapter 6. Guide your emotions to respond with reason and intention. Guiding emotions to respond with reason and intention is a skill that separates individuals who live in control from those who live at the mercy of their feelings. Emotions are powerful forces that influence every decision, interaction, and action. When left unchecked, they can drive behavior in ways that create regret, conflict, and unnecessary stress. Developing the ability to guide emotions consciously requires awareness, reflection, and practice. It is not about suppressing feelings or pretending they do not exist. It is about acknowledging emotions, understanding their source, and choosing responses that align with long-term goals and personal values. The first step in guiding emotions is recognizing them as signals rather than commands. Emotions carry information about experiences, needs, and desires. Anger may indicate a boundary has been crossed. Frustration can signal unmet expectations. Anxiety can highlight potential risks. By interpreting emotions as data rather than directives, the mind gains space to act with reason. This perspective transforms feelings from uncontrollable impulses into tools for informed decision-making. Awareness is critical for guiding emotions effectively. Individuals must cultivate the ability to notice subtle shifts in mood and energy. Feeling tense, restless, or agitated are indicators that an emotional response is building. By observing these early signs, the mind can intervene before emotion dominates behavior. Daily practices such as mindfulness, journaling, or brief moments of reflection strengthen this awareness. The more attuned the mind becomes to internal signals, the more capacity it has to guide reactions intentionally. Breathing techniques play a vital role in managing emotional intensity. When emotions surge, physiological responses such as increased heart rate, shallow breathing, or muscle tension occur automatically. Deliberate deep breathing calms the nervous system, reduces stress hormone levels, and allows the mind to process information clearly. Integrating breathing exercises into daily life creates a reliable method for returning to reason in the midst of strong emotions. Reflection and analysis enhance emotional guidance. After an emotional experience, reviewing the event objectively provides insight into triggers, patterns, and responses. Questions such as what caused the emotion, how it influenced behavior, and what alternative response could have been chosen encourage learning. This reflective process strengthens the ability to anticipate emotional reactions and respond intentionally in the future. Each reflection reinforces control, turning experience into wisdom. Cognitive reframing is another essential strategy. Emotions are often amplified by the stories the mind tells itself. Shifting perspective to interpret situations differently reduces intensity and increases clarity. For instance, viewing criticism as feedback rather than personal attack allows the mind to respond constructively instead of defensively. Reframing thoughts ensures that emotional responses are guided by reason rather than distorted interpretations, creating space for thoughtful and intentional action. Setting clear personal values supports emotional guidance. When decisions are aligned with defined principles, emotions serve as advisors rather than masters. Values provide a compass for evaluating responses. For example, patience, integrity, or respect become benchmarks against which emotional impulses are measured. The mind asks whether a reaction reflects these values, and this check guides behavior toward intentional outcomes. Values act as stabilizers, allowing emotions to inform rather than dictate responses. Visualization reinforces the ability to guide emotions. Mentally rehearsing situations that typically provoke strong feelings while imagining composed, intentional responses trains the brain for real-life application. Visualizing calm and reasoned reactions strengthens neural pathways associated with self-control. This preparation reduces the likelihood of being overwhelmed by emotion and ensures that responses are deliberate rather than reactive. Rehearsal solidifies the practice of emotional guidance into a habitual skill. Engaging in physical activity contributes to emotional regulation. Exercise reduces stress hormones, releases endorphins, and creates space for mental clarity. When the body is energized and balanced, emotions are easier to manage. Regular movement supports the mind's ability to respond with intention, making emotional guidance more reliable. Activities such as walking, stretching, or other consistent exercise routines provide a physical anchor for emotional stability. Language shapes emotional responses. Choosing precise words when labeling feelings enhances understanding and reduces confusion. Instead of vague descriptions like feeling bad, identifying specific emotions such as disappointment, irritation, or concern allows the mind to address them accurately. Accurate labeling creates clarity, enabling reasoning to intervene before behavior is driven by uncontrolled emotional energy. Words bridge the gap between feeling and action. Setting boundaries reduces unnecessary emotional disturbances. Recognizing environments, relationships, or circumstances that frequently provoke strong reactions allows the mind to manage exposure. Boundaries are not avoidance. They are deliberate choices to protect mental equilibrium. By minimizing unnecessary triggers, individuals maintain a baseline of calm that strengthens the ability to respond intentionally when unavoidable emotions arise. Patience is central to emotional guidance. Strong feelings often demand immediate action, but exercising patience creates a buffer for reflection. Delaying responses, even for moments, allows the mind to process information, consider consequences, and align actions with intention. Each instance of patience reinforces the habit of responding thoughtfully, gradually weakening the grip of impulsive emotional reactions. Patience transforms reactive behavior into deliberate, reasoned conduct. Developing steady routines strengthens emotional control. Daily practices such as meditation, journaling, mindfulness, and reflective breathing create a stable framework for managing feelings. When these routines are consistent, the mind becomes accustomed to responding with awareness rather than automatic reaction. Emotional guidance becomes an embedded skill rather than a conscious effort, allowing composure to persist under pressure. The cumulative effect of routine practice enhances resilience and reduces vulnerability to sudden surges of emotion. Social awareness complements self-regulation. Observing how others communicate and respond to situations provides insight into emotional dynamics. Understanding social cues and recognizing triggers in interpersonal interactions allows the individual to choose responses strategically. Emotional guidance in relationships reduces conflict, enhances communication, and fosters mutual respect. Awareness of external emotional environments equips the mind to act intentionally rather than being swept up in reactive exchanges. Decision-making improves when emotions are guided intentionally. Emotions often provide valuable information about priorities, values, and needs. By interpreting these signals rationally, the mind can integrate emotional input into thoughtful choices. Emotional guidance ensures that decisions balance feeling with reason, creating outcomes that satisfy both immediate needs and long-term goals. Rational analysis supported by emotional awareness creates clarity and reduces the risk of regret. Gratitude enhances emotional stability. Focusing attention on positive aspects of life shifts perspective away from negative or reactive emotions. Regular gratitude practice strengthens resilience, reduces irritability, and provides a foundation of calm from which reasoned responses emerge naturally. Gratitude trains the mind to seek perspective, recognize value, and respond with intentionality, rather than being driven by emotional intensity. Self-compassion is vital in guiding emotions. Mistakes and strong reactions are inevitable, but responding with judgment exacerbates emotional turmoil. Treating oneself with understanding and patience creates a stable inner environment where reason can operate. Self-compassion strengthens resilience, reinforces control over emotional responses, and allows learning from each experience. The mind develops confidence in its ability to manage feelings without self-punishment. Integration of emotional guidance into daily decisions ensures the skill becomes habitual. Small choices, such as responding to minor annoyances, managing frustration at delays, or handling interpersonal misunderstandings, provide practical opportunities to practice. Each successful application reinforces control, building confidence in the ability to guide emotions effectively in more significant circumstances. Repetition solidifies intentionality as the default response, weakening impulsive reactions over time. Awareness of long-term consequences reinforces the need for emotional guidance. Immediate reactions often create outcomes that conflict with goals or values. Evaluating potential impacts before responding allows the mind to align behavior with intention. Recognizing that actions have consequences strengthens motivation to manage feelings effectively, ensuring decisions are deliberate rather than reactive. Long-term perspective shifts the focus from immediate emotion to considered action. Continuous practice over time transforms emotional guidance from effortful control into natural skill. The mind learns to interpret feelings, pause, assess, and respond thoughtfully. Emotional energy becomes a tool rather than a tyrant. The individual gains mastery over behavior, improves relationships, strengthens decision-making, and experiences greater confidence and clarity in life. Guiding emotions with reason and intention is a deliberate, ongoing practice that builds resilience, self-leadership, and sustained personal growth. Through consistent application, the mind no longer reacts automatically to every stimulus. Emotional impulses are observed, processed, and integrated into intentional responses. The individual develops composure, maintains clarity under pressure, and aligns behavior with values and goals. Emotional guidance becomes a defining characteristic, shaping interactions, decisions, and personal growth. The ability to respond with reason and intention transforms life from reactive chaos to purposeful control, enabling mastery over feelings and actions alike. Chapter 7. Improve your discipline to choose stable actions daily. Improving discipline to choose stable actions daily is the foundation for creating consistency, achieving goals, and building personal strength. Discipline is the bridge between intentions and results, and it allows the mind to act according to purpose rather than impulse. Every decision, no matter how small, contributes to the trajectory of life. Without discipline, even the clearest goals falter because actions are erratic, inconsistent, or driven by fleeting emotions. Strengthening discipline requires understanding its mechanisms, practicing daily habits, and embedding intentional routines that make stability the default choice. The first step is recognizing that discipline is a skill, not a fixed trait. Like any skill, it grows through practice, repetition, and deliberate effort. Viewing discipline as something that can be developed empowers individuals to take action rather than resign to perceived limitations. Each small act of control over behavior reinforces the mind's ability to act steadily, gradually increasing capacity to maintain consistency in more complex situations. Discipline is not about perfection, it is about persistent, reliable action aligned with goals. Daily planning is a practical tool for improving discipline. Structuring the day around priorities ensures that actions are purposeful rather than reactive. Creating a list of tasks, scheduling focused work periods, and setting clear intentions for each activity provides a framework for consistency. Planning prevents the mind from being overwhelmed by choices, which often leads to erratic or impulsive behavior. A disciplined approach to organizing time enhances clarity, reduces procrastination, and fosters predictable, steady actions. Start small with manageable commitments to reinforce stability. Choosing simple daily practices such as exercising, journaling, or completing minor tasks consistently builds the foundation for larger disciplines. Small successes create momentum, strengthen self-confidence, and demonstrate that stable action is possible. Repeated practice in manageable increments trains the mind to respond reliably, gradually extending discipline to more significant areas of life. Consistency in small actions translates into control over larger decisions. Accountability is a powerful tool for building discipline. Sharing goals and intentions with a trusted friend, mentor, or coach increases commitment because actions are no longer isolated. Accountability creates external reinforcement, reminding the mind of responsibilities and the importance of consistent effort. It also encourages reflection on progress, identifying areas where discipline may falter and providing motivation to return to stable routines. External support amplifies internal drive, reinforcing the habit of stable action. Habit formation is central to discipline. Repeated behaviors become automatic over time, reducing reliance on willpower alone. Creating triggers or cues that prompt desired actions ensures consistency even when motivation is low. For instance, placing workout clothes in a visible location, scheduling reading time after breakfast, or associating a certain activity with a daily routine helps the mind execute tasks reliably. Habits are the scaffolding that supports discipline, allowing stability to persist without constant conscious effort. Self-awareness strengthens the ability to choose stable actions. Understanding personal triggers, weaknesses, and patterns helps anticipate moments of potential failure. By identifying situations where discipline is likely to waver, strategies can be implemented to maintain focus. Awareness of internal and external factors allows the mind to act intentionally rather than reactively. Reflection on successes and setbacks provides insight into behavior, enabling continuous refinement of strategies for stable action. Delayed gratification is a critical component of discipline. The ability to resist immediate impulses in favor of long-term benefits reinforces steady behavior. Practicing restraint in daily decisions, such as saving money, completing work before leisure, or maintaining a healthy routine, strengthens the mind's capacity to act with purpose. Each instance of choosing long-term benefit over immediate satisfaction reinforces stability, gradually making deliberate, disciplined action habitual and instinctive. Environment plays a significant role in supporting discipline. Surroundings that minimize distractions and encourage focus enhance the ability to act consistently. Organizing spaces to reduce clutter, setting up dedicated work areas, and limiting exposure to interruptions ensures that actions align with intentions. When the environment reinforces desired behaviors, Discipline becomes easier to maintain, and stable action flows naturally from intentional design. Mindset determines the effectiveness of discipline. Viewing challenges as opportunities to practice control rather than obstacles fosters persistence. Obstacles will arise and circumstances will fluctuate, but maintaining a mindset focused on steady action ensures resilience. Discipline is strengthened when the mind interprets difficulties as tests of character rather than threats. Cultivating a growth-oriented perspective turns each challenge into practice for developing stable, purposeful behavior. Tracking progress reinforces consistent action. Recording daily achievements, even small ones, provides tangible evidence of stability and growth. Progress tracking encourages reflection on patterns, highlights areas for improvement, and celebrates achievements. Recognition of consistent effort fuels motivation, strengthens confidence, and reinforces the habit of disciplined action. By measuring results, the mind maintains focus and a sense of accountability for every decision and behavior. Time management enhances the ability to maintain stable actions. Allocating dedicated periods for work, rest, and reflection prevents the mind from being overextended, which often leads to impulsive or erratic behavior. Structured time allows for intentional focus, ensuring that tasks are completed efficiently and effectively. Discipline is supported when the mind knows when to act, when to pause, and when to reassess. Effective time management reduces stress and promotes consistency in daily practice. Reflection and review are essential for reinforcing discipline. At the end of each day, examining choices, evaluating actions, and considering alternative approaches strengthens learning. Reflection ensures that mistakes are analyzed constructively rather than repeated unconsciously. It also provides insight into patterns of stability and inconsistency, allowing for strategic adjustments. Regular review transforms experience into practical wisdom, increasing the ability to choose stable actions intentionally. Emotional regulation is intertwined with discipline. Impulses driven by anger, frustration, or excitement can undermine steady action. Strengthening the mind's ability to acknowledge feelings without acting on them ensures that behavior remains aligned with intentions. Practices such as mindfulness, meditation, and conscious breathing enhance control over emotional responses, allowing discipline to guide action rather than being overridden by temporary states. Focus strengthens discipline by reducing the influence of distraction and temptation. Concentrating fully on the task at hand allows for more efficient, stable execution. Developing the ability to eliminate unnecessary stimuli, prioritize tasks, and maintain attention creates conditions for consistent action. Focus and discipline reinforce each other, producing an environment where deliberate, stable behavior becomes the natural response to any circumstance. Reward and reinforcement support long-term discipline. Recognizing effort and celebrating consistency strengthens motivation. Rewards need not be extravagant. Acknowledgement of daily success or completion of intentional actions reinforces positive behavior. Reinforcement solidifies habits, creating a psychological loop where steady actions are linked to satisfaction, making continued discipline more sustainable over time. Adaptability is essential in sustaining stable action. Life is unpredictable, and unforeseen circumstances challenge routines. Maintaining discipline requires flexibility to adjust methods while preserving core principles of steady behavior. Adaptable discipline ensures that actions remain consistent even in the face of change, demonstrating resilience and commitment to long-term goals. Stability does not mean rigidity. It means intentional response under varying conditions. Visualization strengthens the practice of choosing stable actions. Mentally rehearsing scenarios where discipline is applied successfully prepares the mind for real life implementation. Imagining responding to challenges with consistent, purposeful behavior reinforces neural pathways that support stability. Rehearsal reduces reliance on willpower alone and strengthens confidence that disciplined choices can be maintained even under pressure. Account for energy management to maintain stable actions. Daily physical and mental fatigue undermine consistency, and increase susceptibility to impulsive choices. Structuring the day to include rest, nutrition, and recovery ensures the mind and body are prepared to act with clarity and intention. Proper energy management enhances focus, resilience, and reliability, supporting the ability to maintain disciplined behavior across all aspects of life. The cumulative effect of daily discipline transforms life profoundly. Stable actions build momentum, strengthen character, and establish patterns that support long-term success. Each deliberate choice reinforces the mind's ability to respond intentionally rather than reactively, creating a foundation of control, consistency, and confidence. Discipline becomes the driver of growth, shaping behavior, decisions, and results in ways that align with personal goals and values. Chapter 8. Protect your peace by ignoring unnecessary emotional triggers. Protecting your peace by ignoring unnecessary emotional triggers is essential for maintaining stability, focus, and long-term well-being. Life presents countless moments that could disturb calm, ranging from minor annoyances to unsolicited opinions, negativity from others, or events beyond control. Allowing these triggers to dominate attention and energy undermines clarity, decision-making, and emotional resilience. Choosing to protect peace is an intentional practice of discerning what deserves reaction and what should be released. It is not about avoidance of reality, but about consciously deciding where to invest mental and emotional energy. The first step is recognizing what constitutes an unnecessary emotional trigger. Not every challenge or stressor is significant, and not every opinion or comment requires attention. Triggers often arise from situations that do not align with values or priorities, yet demand immediate emotional energy if allowed. By identifying which events, behaviors, or words are irrelevant to personal growth, goals, or peace of mind, the individual can selectively respond only to what truly matters. Awareness strengthens the ability to ignore triggers effectively. Observing emotional reactions as they arise allows the mind to separate impulse from rational response. Noticing sensations such as tension, irritability, or racing thoughts signals that a trigger is present. Once recognized, the mind has the choice to engage or release. Practicing this awareness consistently builds the skill of maintaining composure even when faced with provocation or distraction. Boundaries are a practical method to safeguard peace. Establishing limits with people, environments, or situations that frequently provoke unnecessary emotional reactions ensures that attention and energy are protected. Boundaries might include limiting exposure to toxic individuals, avoiding arguments that provide no productive outcome, or declining engagements that drain focus. Boundaries are proactive tools that allow for control over what enters emotional and mental space, reducing susceptibility to disruption. Mindful detachment is essential in managing triggers. Detachment does not mean indifference, but rather choosing to observe without absorbing negativity. By mentally stepping back from the stimulus and recognizing it as external rather than personal, emotional escalation is prevented. This practice allows the individual to respond rationally if needed, or ignore the trigger altogether without internalizing stress. Mindful detachment strengthens resilience and preserves energy for meaningful action. Emotional regulation techniques further reinforce peace. Practices such as conscious breathing, grounding exercises, and meditation reduce the intensity of reactions when triggers arise. Deep breathing slows the nervous system, reduces cortisol levels, and creates mental clarity. Grounding practices, such as focusing on physical sensations or the present moment, prevent the mind from spiraling into overreaction. Meditation strengthens the ability to maintain calm consistently, making peace a habitual state rather than an occasional experience. Choice is central to protecting peace. Every reaction is a decision, and not every situation requires engagement. Recognizing that energy spent reacting to trivial matters is energy lost from productive or meaningful pursuits empowers deliberate response. Consciously deciding where to invest emotional resources ensures that focus is reserved for situations that align with goals, values, or personal growth. Each instance of choosing not to react reinforces the habit of preserving mental equilibrium. Reframing perspective reduces the impact of triggers. Situations often provoke strong emotion because they are interpreted as threats, insults, or violations. Shifting interpretation to view these events as neutral or inconsequential removes emotional intensity. For example, understanding that criticism from an uninformed source does not define worth diminishes its power. Cognitive reframing transforms potential triggers into manageable stimuli, allowing the mind to remain centered. Self-reflection strengthens the practice of ignoring triggers, assessing which events provoke disproportionate emotion, and understanding why enhances awareness and control. Reflection clarifies personal vulnerabilities and patterns that increase susceptibility to unnecessary reactions. By examining past experiences, the mind learns to anticipate triggers and implement strategies to maintain peace preemptively. Reflection converts experience into a roadmap for emotional stability. Time management supports peace by reducing exposure to stressors. Overcommitted schedules, constant information input, and multitasking create mental clutter and increase vulnerability to triggers. Structuring the day with intentional focus on priorities, allocating periods for rest, and minimizing unnecessary engagements decreases the likelihood of emotional disruption. When time is managed effectively, the mind has space to maintain equilibrium and resist impulses to react unnecessarily. Selective attention is a critical skill. The mind naturally responds to stimuli, but attention determines what is amplified and what is ignored. Choosing to focus on constructive, relevant, or positive aspects of life minimizes the effect of emotional triggers. By directing attention intentionally, unnecessary inputs lose significance and no longer provoke disruptive responses. Developing control over attention ensures that energy remains aligned with purpose rather than scattered by trivial events. Physical health impacts the ability to preserve peace. Fatigue, poor nutrition, and lack of exercise increase irritability and reduce tolerance for disruption. Maintaining consistent sleep, balanced diet, and regular movement enhances emotional resilience. A well-regulated body provides a stable platform for the mind to resist unnecessary triggers, ensuring that reactions are deliberate rather than automatic. Physical well-being and mental stability are interconnected, reinforcing each other in the practice of peace preservation. Gratitude strengthens the capacity to ignore trivial disturbances. Focusing on what is positive and meaningful reduces the perceived importance of minor irritations. Daily practices of noting achievements, acknowledging support, and reflecting on personal strengths shift attention away from negativity. Gratitude fosters perspective, reinforcing the understanding that some events are insignificant in the broader context of life, allowing peace to remain intact despite potential triggers. Social awareness enhances the ability to protect peace. Recognizing that people often project their own frustrations or insecurities reduces the tendency to internalize their actions. Observing interactions objectively, without personalizing behavior, prevents emotional escalation. Understanding social dynamics and emotional patterns in others equips the mind to respond strategically or disengage when appropriate. Awareness of external influences strengthens control over internal state. Routine and habit support stable emotional responses. Consistent daily practices such as morning reflection, structured work periods, and deliberate breaks create predictability that reduces susceptibility to disruption. Habits establish a mental baseline of calm, making it easier to ignore minor disturbances. When the mind operates from stability, external triggers lose their ability to provoke disproportionate responses. Consistent routines provide structure that reinforces resilience. Visualization prepares the mind for potential triggers. Mentally rehearsing scenarios in which emotional provocations occur and imagining responses that maintain calm strengthens preparedness. Visualization trains the brain to remain composed, anticipate challenges, and act intentionally. By rehearsing ignoring irrelevant triggers, the mind builds confidence and automaticity in maintaining peace during real-life situations. Rehearsal reinforces mental stability and control communication strategies contribute to preserving peace. Expressing boundaries clearly and assertively prevents unnecessary conflict and reduces exposure to triggers. Choosing words thoughtfully, avoiding reactive language, and disengaging from unproductive debates maintain composure. Effective communication ensures that energy is directed toward meaningful outcomes rather than wasted on reactive engagement, reinforcing mental stability and self-control. Self-compassion is crucial when emotional triggers occur. Even when reactions happen, responding with understanding rather than self-criticism restores balance quickly. Recognizing that imperfection is natural allows the mind to reset and return to composure without lingering agitation. Self-compassion strengthens resilience and encourages continued practice of ignoring unnecessary triggers, preventing temporary disruptions from escalating into persistent stress. Prioritization ensures that energy is spent on what matters most. Identifying key goals, relationships, and values provides a filter for decision-making and emotional investment. Anything outside of these priorities is less likely to warrant emotional response. Clear priorities guide focus, allowing the mind to ignore minor provocations and preserve attention for impactful actions. Discipline in prioritization strengthens mental clarity and peace. Continuous practice solidifies the ability to ignore unnecessary triggers. Each time the mind chooses not to react, the skill is reinforced. Consistent application in minor situations prepares the individual for major challenges, creating a habit of composure that is resilient to external disturbances. Over time, ignoring irrelevant emotional stimuli becomes automatic, forming a foundation for stability, clarity, and purposeful living. Protecting peace is transformative. The mind that ignores unnecessary triggers maintains clarity, reduces stress, and preserves energy for meaningful pursuits. Emotional stability enhances decision-making, strengthens relationships, and increases resilience. Choosing not to react impulsively allows the individual to navigate life with intentionality, ensuring that actions are guided by reason rather than momentary disturbance. Protecting peace is a proactive, ongoing practice that shapes life through deliberate attention to what truly matters, creating calm, focus, and sustainable growth. Chapter 9. Break harmful patterns by replacing them with calm habits. Breaking harmful patterns by replacing them with calm habits is a transformative process that reshapes behavior, strengthens self-control, and enhances overall well-being. Habits are the building blocks of daily life, and repetitive behaviors, whether constructive or destructive, shape outcomes over time. Harmful patterns often develop unconsciously and persist because they offer immediate comfort, relief, or distraction, even though they undermine long-term goals. The first step toward breaking them is acknowledging their presence without judgment, recognizing the ways they interfere with personal growth, and committing to intentional change. Awareness is crucial for identifying harmful patterns. Observing recurring behaviors, triggers, and reactions allows the mind to understand the scope of the problem. Journaling daily actions, noting emotional responses, or mentally reviewing decisions helps to reveal patterns that may have gone unnoticed. Awareness alone does not change behavior, but it provides the foundation for intervention. By clearly understanding the habit cycle, individuals can plan and implement effective strategies for replacement. Understanding triggers is a critical aspect of breaking destructive patterns. Every habit is linked to a cue, an emotional state, environment, or situation that initiates behavior. By identifying these triggers, it becomes possible to disrupt the automatic response. Triggers can be physical, such as fatigue, or hunger, social, such as interactions with certain people, or emotional, like stress or boredom. Pinpointing the origin of the behavior allows conscious intervention to replace the response with a healthier action. Replacement is essential for sustainable change. Simply trying to stop a harmful habit often fails because the underlying need or trigger remains unaddressed. Calm habits provide alternative responses that fulfill the same requirement in a constructive way. For instance, replacing impulsive reactions with deep breathing, journaling, or short walks satisfies the urge to act without perpetuating harm. Introducing calm, purposeful actions rewires behavior patterns and gradually diminishes the power of the previous habit. Consistency is a cornerstone of breaking harmful patterns. New habits require repeated practice to replace old behaviors reliably. It is not enough to practice once or twice. The mind and body must experience repeated reinforcement to form new neural pathways. Consistent application of calm habits strengthens self-discipline, enhances self-confidence, and ensures that intentional behavior gradually becomes automatic. Stability emerges when new habits are practiced daily, consistently displacing old destructive patterns. Start with small, achievable changes to build momentum. Attempting to replace multiple harmful behaviors simultaneously often leads to overwhelm and relapse. Focusing on one specific habit at a time creates a manageable pathway for success. Small victories reinforce belief in the ability to change, increase motivation, and build resilience against setbacks. Incremental progress compounds over time, resulting in lasting transformation. Emotional regulation supports habit replacement. Many harmful patterns are driven by unchecked emotions, such as stress, anger, or anxiety. Strengthening the ability to notice feelings and respond calmly prevents old habits from resurfacing in moments of emotional intensity. Techniques such as mindful breathing, meditation, and reflection create a buffer between trigger and action, allowing deliberate choice. Emotions become signals rather than commands, supporting the adoption of calm behaviors. Routine reinforces new habits and weakens old ones. Structuring daily life around intentional calm practices reduces reliance on willpower alone. Consistent schedules, designated times for reflection, exercise, or focused work, and recurring rituals establish predictability that supports stability. Routines transform conscious effort into automatic responses, making calm habits second nature and minimizing the likelihood of reverting to harmful patterns. Accountability strengthens commitment to change. Sharing goals with a trusted individual or mentor provides external reinforcement and motivation. Accountability encourages reflection, offers feedback, and ensures continued focus on replacing harmful patterns. Social support enhances persistence by reminding the mind of the purpose behind change and providing encouragement when challenges arise. Interaction with others reinforces progress and maintains consistent effort. Reflection enhances learning from each attempt at change. Evaluating successes, setbacks, and triggers provides valuable insight for adjusting strategies. Reflection allows for understanding why certain habits persist, what conditions support calm replacements, and how to improve approaches for long-term success. Regular evaluation ensures that new behaviors are reinforced effectively and that old patterns are gradually eliminated. Insight gained from reflection accelerates the process of transformation. Visualization accelerates habit replacement by mentally rehearsing desired behaviors. Imagining responding to triggers with calm, intentional actions prepares the mind for real, life implementation. Visualization strengthens neural pathways associated with self-control, increases confidence, and reduces the likelihood of reverting to destructive patterns. Mental rehearsal conditions the mind to act consistently, embedding calm responses as the default reaction over time. Reward and reinforcement support habit formation. Recognizing and celebrating successful application of calm behaviors motivates continued effort. Rewards need not be elaborate. Acknowledgement of progress, satisfaction in completing intentional actions, or simple reflection on growth reinforces the brain's association between effort and positive outcomes. Reinforcement strengthens commitment and ensures that calm habits are maintained despite challenges or stress. Environment plays a pivotal role in habit change. Surroundings that encourage focus, tranquility, and intentional action reduce exposure to triggers and temptations. Organizing physical spaces, removing distractions, and creating areas for reflection or calm activity supports the replacement of harmful patterns. An environment designed to reinforce positive behavior increases the likelihood of consistent practice and reduces reliance on willpower alone. Self-compassion is essential throughout the process. Breaking harmful patterns is challenging, and lapses are inevitable. Responding with patience and understanding rather than self-criticism prevents discouragement and relapse. Treating setbacks as learning opportunities reinforces resilience, strengthens commitment, and maintains motivation. Compassion allows the mind to reset and continue progress without allowing temporary failures to derail the overall effort. Focus enhances the adoption of calm habits, directing attention to the present moment. Identifying priorities and concentrating on deliberate action reduces susceptibility to automatic, harmful responses. Focused awareness strengthens the connection between triggers and intentional responses, making it easier to replace old patterns with productive alternatives. Maintaining focus ensures that energy is used for deliberate choices rather than unconscious reactions. Physical well-being supports habit transformation. Adequate rest, nutrition, and exercise create the stability necessary for self-control and consistent action. A healthy body reduces irritability, fatigue, and stress, all of which increase vulnerability to harmful patterns. Physical preparation strengthens the mind's ability to maintain calm habits and act intentionally in response to triggers. Patience is crucial for sustainable change. Replacing entrenched behaviors takes time, and expecting immediate perfection often leads to frustration. Embracing gradual progress, understanding that growth is incremental, and committing to persistent effort ensure long-term success. Patience allows the mind to stay focused on the process, rather than becoming discouraged by temporary setbacks. Integration into daily life ensures that calm habits become natural responses. Practicing new behaviors in diverse situations reinforces their applicability, strengthening neural pathways and reducing reliance on conscious effort. The more consistently new habits are applied, the more automatic they become, gradually displacing harmful patterns entirely. Integration solidifies transformation and ensures lasting stability. Long-term perspective reinforces commitment to habit change. Understanding that the benefits of calm habits extend beyond immediate comfort to improved health, relationships, and personal growth motivates sustained effort. Seeing progress as part of a larger journey encourages persistence and provides context for setbacks. Long-term thinking strengthens resilience and reinforces intentional behavior. Breaking harmful patterns is transformative because it shifts control from impulse to intention. Replacing destructive behavior with calm, deliberate actions strengthens discipline, improves emotional stability, and enhances decision-making. Each successful replacement builds confidence, creates momentum, and establishes a foundation for further personal growth. Calm habits become a core aspect of identity, ensuring that actions are guided by reason rather than reaction, and life is navigated with clarity, stability, and purpose. Chapter 10. Lead yourself with thoughtful action to build inner strength. Leading yourself with thoughtful action to build inner strength is the ultimate expression of personal mastery. Inner strength is not simply enduring challenges or suppressing impulses. It is the deliberate capacity to act with intention, clarity, and consistency, even when circumstances are difficult or distractions abound. Thoughtful action begins with awareness of self, understanding personal values, and aligning every choice with long-term purpose rather than immediate gratification. This practice transforms ordinary decisions into exercises of strength, gradually forging a resilient, disciplined mind capable of navigating life with confidence and balance. Self-leadership starts with knowing your priorities and clarifying what truly matters. Life presents constant demands, and without clear principles, it is easy to drift or react impulsively. By defining core values, establishing goals, and identifying the behaviors that support them, the mind gains direction and focus. Decisions become intentional rather than reactive, and actions consistently reflect inner purpose. Thoughtful leadership of self requires honesty, reflection, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about habits, choices, and patterns that may undermine growth. Awareness of thought and emotion is critical to thoughtful action. Emotions can cloud judgment and prompt impulsive reactions, while unexamined thoughts can reinforce limiting beliefs or destructive habits. Observing internal states without judgment allows for a pause between stimulus and response, creating space to choose deliberate action. Practicing mindfulness, journaling, or reflective meditation strengthens the capacity to notice impulses and respond with intention. Each instance of self-observation reinforces control and contributes to cumulative inner strength. Setting small intentional goals provides structure and measurable progress. Inner strength grows when action is consistent, and goals act as tangible benchmarks for success. Begin with achievable targets that reinforce habits of discipline, patience, and focus. Completing these goals develops confidence and demonstrates the power of deliberate action. Gradually, as small successes accumulate, the mind internalizes the process of thoughtful choice, making stability and resilience habitual. Goals also serve as a reminder that leadership of self is a daily practice rather than a single achievement. Discipline is the engine of thoughtful action. It ensures that behavior aligns with values and purpose, even when motivation fluctuates. Cultivating discipline involves creating routines, establishing consistent habits, and committing to principles that guide decisions. Discipline is not rigid conformity. It is the capacity to act reliably despite discomfort, distraction, or temptation. Each disciplined choice strengthens the mind's ability to remain consistent and intentional, reinforcing inner strength and the capacity to navigate complex situations with clarity. Decision making is central to self-leadership. Thoughtful action requires weighing options, anticipating consequences, and choosing the path that aligns with long-term objectives. Quick, unconsidered reactions often lead to regret or wasted energy. By slowing the decision process and evaluating choices against personal values, each action becomes an exercise in leadership of self. Developing this skill fosters confidence, reduces emotional volatility, and creates a reliable foundation for personal and professional growth. Reflection and learning are integral to cultivating inner strength. After each action, assessing what worked, what did not, and what could be improved strengthens understanding and enhances future choices. Reflection transforms experience into wisdom, allowing the mind to internalize lessons and adjust behavior accordingly. By systematically analyzing outcomes, individuals reinforce thoughtful practices and prevent repeated mistakes, creating a cycle of continuous improvement and resilience. Emotional regulation is vital for leading oneself effectively. Strong inner strength does not mean suppressing feelings, but rather guiding emotions to support intentional action. Techniques such as deep breathing, grounding exercises, and mindful observation allow the mind to remain calm and focused under pressure. Emotional regulation ensures that decisions are driven by reason and principle rather than reactive impulses, strengthening self-control and the ability to act consistently with purpose. Focus enhances the quality of thoughtful action. Distractions, scattered attention, and multitasking weaken decision-making and compromise effectiveness. Prioritizing tasks, creating clear mental boundaries, and dedicating attention to one activity at a time reinforces concentration and ensures that actions are deliberate. Focused effort amplifies impact and fosters mastery over behavior, creating conditions in which inner strength can flourish reliably across different areas of life. Resilience grows through repeated practice of thoughtful action in challenging situations. Facing adversity with intention rather than reaction develops the ability to remain steady under pressure. Each encounter with difficulty becomes an opportunity to strengthen self-leadership and build confidence in decision. Making resilience is cultivated when the mind consistently chooses constructive, purposeful responses despite external stress, reinforcing the internal framework of discipline, awareness, and intentional action. Accountability strengthens the process of self-leadership, holding oneself responsible for actions, outcomes, and adherence to principles ensures that thoughtful behavior is maintained consistently. Keeping track of progress, reviewing decisions, and acknowledging successes and failures reinforces ownership of life and encourages continuous alignment with personal values. Accountability prevents drift, supports consistency, and fosters a deeper connection between intention and action. Habit formation supports sustainable inner strength. By embedding thoughtful action into daily routines, the mind reduces reliance on fleeting motivation. Constructive habits such as planning, reflection, mindful breathing, and focused effort create stability and reinforce the patterns that define deliberate leadership. Over time, these habits become automatic, ensuring that thoughtful action is maintained even under stress or distraction. Habits form the scaffolding that strengthens self-leadership continuously. Adaptability enhances inner strength by enabling thoughtful responses in dynamic circumstances. Life rarely unfolds exactly as planned, and rigid adherence to one approach can lead to frustration or failure. By remaining flexible while adhering to core principles, the mind can respond effectively to unforeseen events without compromising values or goals. Adaptability reinforces resilience, allowing thoughtful action to persist despite changing conditions or challenges. Patience underpins the cultivation of inner strength. Significant growth requires consistent effort over time, and immediate results are rarely guaranteed. Practicing patience ensures that setbacks are met with calm, deliberate responses rather than frustration or impulsive action. Patience enables the mind to remain aligned with long-term objectives, strengthening resolve and reinforcing the practice of thoughtful, intentional action. Prioritization focuses energy on meaningful tasks and decisions. Not all actions carry equal importance, and directing attention toward high-impact behaviors ensures that effort reinforces purpose. Evaluating daily activities and choosing to act where it matters most prevents wasted energy, reduces stress, and reinforces the habit of thoughtful leadership. Prioritization ensures that each action contributes to cumulative growth and the development of inner strength. Communication reflects self-leadership by ensuring that intentions are clearly expressed and interactions remain constructive. Thoughtful communication, active listening, and measured responses demonstrate control over emotions and alignment with principles. Mastery of communication reinforces inner strength by enabling influence without compromise and preserving mental and emotional clarity in complex social contexts. Visualization reinforces deliberate action by mentally rehearsing scenarios in which thoughtful decisions are required. Imagining successful responses to challenges strengthens confidence, reduces anxiety, and prepares the mind for practical implementation. Visualization creates mental pathways that support intentional behavior, making thoughtful action more consistent and automatic in real-life situations. Energy management supports sustained inner strength. Physical, mental, and emotional energy are finite, and their strategic allocation ensures that thoughtful action remains possible throughout the day. Prioritizing rest, nutrition, exercise, and focused work protects mental clarity and supports the consistent practice of deliberate behavior. Managed energy allows the mind to act from strength rather than fatigue or distraction. Reflection on progress reinforces growth in self-leadership. Regularly reviewing decisions, actions, and outcomes allows the mind to identify areas of improvement and acknowledge achievements. Reflection transforms experience into practical knowledge, guiding future behavior and enhancing the ability to act thoughtfully. Continuous evaluation ensures that inner strength deepens steadily and consistently over time. Leading oneself with thoughtful action ultimately creates a life aligned with purpose, clarity, and resilience. Each intentional choice reinforces discipline, strengthens emotional stability, and builds confidence in navigating complexity. Thoughtful leadership of self transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for growth, ensuring that decisions, behaviors, and habits reflect inner values rather than external pressures. The practice of deliberate action develops lasting inner strength, enabling individuals to face challenges, maintain focus, and create meaningful, purpose-driven outcomes consistently.